Hello everyone, I am Third Class Gaming, and today I will be giving you tips and tricks for the Sniper class in TF2. This tutorial is for novice players only. If you play Sniper a lot and you have a basic concept of what to do, this tutorial will not help you a lot. Just as a reminder, these tips are in no particular order. For the first tip, it is don't stand still. To elaborate on that point, this is basically kind of one of those common sense things that people still kind of have trouble with. It's a lot harder to hit you if you're moving. Now some people may find that, like say, they have trouble aiming, but usually if you have a good sensitivity on your mouse, it shouldn't be that hard to compensate. And also, moving can also help you get a lead on your target, just a little bit. I know I used it lots of times to get leads on targets. Also, when you're battling snipers, just doing a jitter 80-80-80 can help you avoid those headshots and get your hit on the target. Tip number 2, don't crouch. This is just as a general tip, but it also applies to Sniper in a big way. Crouching with any weapon in TF2 does not do anything but make you a smaller target, and less mobile, which in most cases is actually going to hurt you. And because if you're a smaller target, you're easier to aim at, basically. Tip number 3, use a weapon suited for your skill. What I mean by this is that if you're a new sniper and right out of the gate you get a drop, and let's say it's the Bizarre Bargain, you're not going to be able to use it effectively, and you look kind of stupid using it. Like whenever I'm fighting newbie snipers, and you can tell they're newbie because of the way that they position themselves and the way, like their sniper technique, I guess you could call it. But it's like if they're using a Hitman's Heatmaker or a Bizarre Bargain, and all they're doing is getting body shots on me, I kind of laugh. It's like Hitman's Heatmaker, that's a 20% body damage penalty. And like Bizarre Bargain, really no use for it unless you're going to go for headshots. So just as a general rule, out of the gate, I would use the default or the Machina or something else that is not the Bizarre Bargain or the Hitman's Heatmaker or the Classic. Because the Classic is just awful. Why would you use that to begin with? Well, regardless, moral of the story, use a weapon suited for your skill. Tip number 4. The SMG is not supposed to be your primary weapon. Do not use it as such. And what I mean by this is that if you're running around the battlefield using your, with your SMG out and you're shooting everyone down as if it's actually doing real damage, then you're doing it wrong. What the SMG is supposed to be, at least in the way I perceive it, is that it's supposed to be a finisher weapon. Like I get a headshot on a soldier and he's nearby, so I'll pull out my SMG and I'll gun him down. Because that's basically the only thing your SMG can do effectively. Or maybe if you're at close range with a scout, you could probably gun down a scout without too much trouble. But as a general rule, use your SMG to finish other people off after you land a headshot or you land like a halfway decent body shot on them. Our final tip today, tip number 5, is make sure you are making smart choices when choosing a secondary and a tertiary weapon, or your secondary and melee weapons. Some good examples of this would be the Jarate with the Bushwhacker, the Darwin's Danger Shield with the default, or the Razorback with the Tribal Man Shiv. Now these are good weapon combinations because the Jarate gives mini crits, and the Bushwhacker does crits when mini crits are active. Kind of confusing, I know. The Darwin's in the default because why would you use the Bushwhacker with the Darwin since the Bushwhacker doesn't crit on its own? It doesn't make any sense. I guess you could use the very long on the Shishanasha. I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. But that would be a good combination too. Or the Razorback and the Tribal Man Shiv. Because if a spy, usually Nova spies do this more than good spies. Good spies will just revolver you down if you have the Razorback on. But if you encounter a bad spy who decides to backstab you with the Razorback on for whatever reason, you could turn around, whack him with the Tribal Man Shiv, and then he will bleed. So if he does decide to randomly cloak and try to get away, you can see where he's headed, which is usually always a good thing. Like a couple of bad examples of this would be using the Jarate with the default or any of the other ones besides the Bushwhacker, because, I mean, as Jarate can be good as a support weapon, it doesn't make any sense to use it with anything but the Bushwhacker, unless I'm missing something, which I may be. Or using the Tribal Man Shiv without using, the Razorback. Because on its own, the Tribal Man Shiv is a very ineffective weapon. It doesn't do a lot, besides make people bleed. But, usually people can find a health pack in time before it kills them. The only time it gets useful is if you hit a cloak spy with it. At least in my opinion. Or, the Razorback with anything else. Because usually the Razorback is just it's like pretty useless as a secondary. The Darwins, I would say I'd make an exception. You can use the Darwins with almost anything and it'd be cool, except for the Bushwhacker, because the Bushwhacker doesn't do random crits, and the Bushwhacker has a 20% fire damage penalty, and it's just a really bad combination, but otherwise you can use almost anything with the Darwins. And that wraps up all my tips. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and rate and comment and tell me that you exist so that I'm not crying alone. And I will see you next time.